Hi, this is going to be my second 5-minute summary for week number 1, and it's based around the multiplier effect. The multiplier is a key element of Keynesian economics, and you will be expected to use it to achieve a high grade when you're discussing changes in national income, changes in fiscal policy in relation to the economic cycle. These are the elements that you need to be able to understand. So what the multiplier is, you need to be able to use the multiplier and the formula for what Keynes called K, explain what makes up the multiplier, look at the interaction or the link between the multiplier and the accelerator model of investment, and then to do some form of evaluation as well. So if we start with an AO1 definition, so the multiplier effect is a process that operates over time, and the key thing about it is that any change results in a greater change in real GDP. So going back to Unit 2 from AS, we've got a simple circular flow of income idea where flows of income circulate around a simple economy, but clearly the real economy is a little bit more complex than this. So our next stage is to look at the other elements that make up the circular flow of income in an economy, which is consumer spending, business investment, government expenditure, which is quite a significant element in the UK, and then spending on exports by foreign businesses and consumers, but also within the economy, consumers may choose to save, and businesses will be taxed, and a certain amount of our spending will leak out of the economy or be withdrawn from the economy in terms of imports. Say imports from China, for example, are going to be classed as a leakage or a withdrawal. So here's a nice hopeful example. Very unlikely to happen in the current climate, of course, but government increases spending on education, and in this really idealised world, the wages of teachers goes up by £5 billion. So we'd regard that as an injection into the circular flow. Now clearly, teachers are going to go out and spend that money, and that then becomes income for other people, and that was our AS level treatment of the multiplier effect. At A2, of course, we're going to go a step further and look at the extent to which that 5 billion produces an overall increase in the GDP. So the key concept here is the notion of what Keynes called the marginal propensity to withdraw. So the extra amount of income for teachers isn't necessarily all spent. Some of it will leak out of the circular flow. So here's a simple illustration. The square represents the initial 5 billion. That then becomes income for others within the economy. So eventually that initial £5 billion that the government chose to inject into the economy becomes 10 billion. So in this instance, the multiplier K has a value of 2. And again, in terms of a high grade, I think being able to refer to the formula will add value to your answer. So the multiplier, which has the K value, is 1 divided by the marginal propensity to withdraw. So in my example, and it's only an example, the value of the multiplier is 2. So the powerful bit of the economics now is to think about what happens when the value of these, so the marginal propensity to either consume or to save or to be taxed or to spend on imports. So what happens when those values alter? And the key conclusion is this one here, that the larger the value of marginal propensity to consume, the larger the value of the multiplier. So in societies where consumers tend to spend more of any injection, the overall effect will be much bigger than in other societies. So it's a nice practical example to think about. London Olympics a couple of years ago, The estimate of the marginal propensity to withdraw 0.3, so that therefore means that the marginal propensity to consume was equal to 0.7. Following the initial injection of £6 billion to get London ready for the Olympics, if you calculate the multiplier value, which is 1 divided by 0.3, which gives you a value of 3.3, which is actually quite a high multiplier value, gives you an overall increase of 19.9 billion. So quite significant, only if, of course, only if this estimate here is correct. Might be worth pausing the video at this point and trying to calculate the answers to these two questions. And these are the answers that you should have got, but remember, in an A2 exam you're not going to be expected to do this type of calculation. It's purely here just to help you illustrate the importance of different values of the multiplier. So just finally, the other concept that is often linked to the multiplier model, but is a separate model in its own right, is the accelerator model of investment, and it states that the level of investment depends on the rate of change of national income, and it's that bit that's the important bit, the rate of change of national income. So this model suggests that it doesn't really get affected directly by changes in interest rates, which is quite an interesting conclusion. So in a recession, firms tend to decrease their investment. In a boom, firms tend to increase their investment. But the important thing is that's happening as a result of the rate of change of income, not the total level. So changes in business investment can often be the factor, if you're coming out of a recession, that kicks the economy back in an upward direction over time. Put the two models together, and Keynes would argue that that's quite a nice theoretical explanation of the economic cycle, where investment and the multiplier actually reinforce each other. They work together. But equally, as the economy dips into a recession, they can produce the opposite effect. Final slide, just some points for evaluation really. There are, of course, always weaknesses with models. But remember, the multiplier and the accelerator are not the only factors behind movements through the economic cycle. So just finally, this is a key concept for an A2 high grade. It's going to differentiate your answer from other candidates and also gives you the opportunity to show some numerical examples which the current chief examiner really likes. And just to finish off, remember the formula for the multiplier is K over K equals 1 over the marginal propensity to withdraw. If the marginal propensity to withdraw changes, the value of the multiplier will change. Hopefully you found this a useful little clip. Why not rewind it and work your way through again? It's going to be available all the way through the year on the Moodle